Ielts B10 Test 1 Page 22 European Transport Systems 1990 to 2010。香港嘅交通運輸喺世界上首屈一指，但係其實我哋嘅交通運輸都係嚟自英國同埋其他歐洲國家。咁我哋 go back 睇翻人哋歐洲國家嘅 transport systems。What have been the trends 個趨勢咧 ？And what are the prospects 將來嘅遠景 for European transport systems？It is difficult to 間低一個常用嘅句構。It is difficult to 作兩句俾我。It is difficult to do revision without my guidance。非常好用第一類動詞搭個形容詞。It is difficult to conceive of 去視為啦，去睇 vigorous economic growth。vigorous 係指好活躍嘅意思，三粒字一齊記 vigorous economic growth， 好強嘅經濟增長 without an efficient transport system。Although modern information technologies 科技 can reduce the demand for physical transport by facilitating preposition by 跟 ing facilitate 嘅意思係推進、促進 fostering。teleworking 同 teleservices 佢令 tele 即係一啲傾電話有關嘅電信有關嘅嘢 transport 除咗增加咗 good services 嘅往來之外咧，其實個溝通係好咗好多。The requirement for transport continues to increase, and there are two key factors behind this trend. For passenger transport, the determining 係嚟自 determine 動詞決定因素 determining factor is the spectacular growth 好勁嘅增長 in car use, and the number of cars on European Union roads saw an increase of 3 million cars each year from 1990 to 2010.In the next decade, the EU will see a further substantial increase, 更加大嘅增長 substantial increase in its fleet 車隊。As far as間低 as far as 一樣嘢 is concerned， 即係關於嗰樣嘢。As far as 一嚿嘢 is concerned， 即係關於嗰樣嘢。關於 goods 嘅 transport， 貨物嘅 transport growth is due to 因為 a large extent to changes in European economy。And this system of production in the last 20 years, internal frontiers have been abolished. Present perfect 嘅被動句 have been abolished 廢除。The EU has moved from a stock economy to flow economy. And this phenomenon 呢個現象啊 ，phenomenon 係單數 ，phenomenon 係單數 ，phenomena 係佢嘅 plural form。Has been emphasized 都係一個 present perfect 嘅被動句喎 ，has been emphasized by the relocation。of some industries relocation 即係重新再分佈嘅意思 industries 係行業 particularly those which are labour intensive 需要好多人嘅行業我哋叫 labour intensive 生產成本 production costs even though the production site is hundreds or even thousands of kilometers away from the final assembly plant 譬如做完架車你要砌埋一齊㗎嘛砌埋嘅地方咪就係 assembly plants and away from users。The strong economic growth expected in countries which are candidates for entry to the EU will also increase transport flows. In particular, 特別係 haulage traffic. In 1998, some of these countries already exported more than twice their 1990 volumes and imported more than 5 times their 1990 volumes. Although many candidate countries inherited 遺傳繼承嘅意思 a transport system which encourages wealth distribution between modes has tipped sharply in favor of 即係支持 road transport since the 1990s. Between 1990s to 1998, road haulage increased by 19.4%, which during the same period rail haulage decreased by 43.5%, decrease 係減少 although即係馬路上就用多咗，但係用鐵路就少咗啦。And this would benefit the enlarged 擴張咗、放大咗嘅 EU. It is still on average at a much higher level than in existing member states. Existing 係而家嘅 current 嘅意思。I have a new imperative 即係 urgent 嘅意思。Sustainable development offers an opportunity for adapting 採用 the EU common transport policy. This objective 呢個目的。Agreed by 呢一個 council has to be achieved by integrating 綜合嘅意思 environmental considerations into integrate 一定跟 into 嘅間低 and shifting 通常跟 between 跟住後邊有 and 嘅，但係呢度冇 shifting the balance between modes of transport lies at the heart of its strategy, 策略方法 strategy. The ambitious objective can only be fully achieved by 2020, and proposed measures 一啲措施nonetheless 但係 a first essential step towards a sustainable transport system which will ideally be in place in 30 years' time, which is by 2040. In 1998, energy consumption in the transport sector was to blame for 28% of emission of CO2. 二氧化碳 emission 係排放。The leading greenhouse gas, according to latest estimates, nothing is done to reverse 即係反轉改變嘅意思。The traffic growth trend, CO2 emissions from transport can be expected to increase by around 50% to 1,113 billion tons by 2020. Compare 一定跟 with 嘅。With 739 billion tons recorded in 1990. Once again, road transport is the same culprit. Culprit 即係主要原因，兇手嘅意思。Since alone accounts for 簡單 accounts for 即係佔有嘅意思，佔咗 accounts for 84% of CO2 emissions attributable to transport， 歸咎於係 transport， 即係嚟自 transport 嘅 CO2 emission。And using alternative fuels and improving energy efficiency 增加佢效率 is thus 所以 both an ecological necessity necessary 嘅名詞 and a technological challenge 一個科技上嘅挑戰。其實啲字來來去去都係嗰啲字，考試出嗰啲字離不開呢啲字，我講間嗰啲通通都係中。At the same time, greater efforts 努力 must be made to achieve a model shift 一個改變。Such a change cannot be achieved overnight. Nonetheless, so far over half a century of constant deterioration. Constant 係恒常嘅 ，deterioration 係越嚟越差嘅意思，即係穩定地差啦。In favor of road, and this has reached such a pitch that today, well, freight services are facing marginalization. Marginalization 即係唔侵去玩啦，越嚟越邊緣化啦，即係越嚟越唔受歡迎啦。With just 8% of market share and with its international goods trains struggling 係掙扎 along at an average speed of 18 km per hour, and 3 possible options have emerged. 有3個可以嘅選擇 emerge 係出現。The first approach would consist 一定跟惡㗎啦，由乜構成 focusing on road transport solely 即係 only through pricing 即係改價錢啦。And this option would not be accompanied by complementary measures in other modes of transport in short term 間低短期內，長期 in the long term。In the short term, it might curb the growth, curb 即係阻止啊 the growth in the road transport through the better loading ratio of goods vehicles and occupancy rates. 佔用率 occupancy rates of passenger vehicles expected as a result of 係解因為 of the increase of the price of transport. However, the lack of measures 缺乏一啲措施 available to revitalize 去刺激 revitalize other modes of transport would make it impossible for more sustainable modes of transport to take up the baton. 接力 take up the baton 即係去改變呢個問題啦。The second approach also concentrates on road transport pricing, but is accompanied by measures to increase the efficiency of other modes. 即係啱啱講咧，就係淨係從個 price 去着手。H 呢一段係講到佢要同時間 increase 個 efficiency. However, this approach does not include investment in new infrastructure. 馬路啊、機場啊啲大嘅基建，我哋 infrastructure. Nor 第一佢 does not， 跟住再 nor 即係同樣都係唔啦。佢係一個倒裝句構呢度 ，nor does it guarantee， 即係話佢唔能夠保證 better regional cohesion。嗱，因為歐盟裏邊好多國家佢哋未必咁團結 cohesion， 區內嘅團結 regional cohesion， 佢哋通常都隨便巴閉嘅，所以未必可以保證到佢哋會合作。It could help to achieve greater uncoupling than the first approach, but the road transport would keep the lion's share of the market and continues to concentrate 跟 on 大粒聲。Saturated artery, saturated 已經飽和嘅血管，即係已經飽和嘅道路。Despite 縱使後邊跟 phrase 唔可以跟動詞 ，being the most polluting of the most, it is therefore 所以 not enough to guarantee the necessary shift of the balance。咁呢一段就講到即係 price 再加埋個 efficiency 未必解決到個問題。A third approach, which is not new, comprises 嗱頭先 G 嗰段係 consist of。唔中意用 consist of 定用 comprises 就冇惡嘅喎。 係由佢構成。A series 一連串嘅 measures ranging from pricing to revitalizing alternative modes of transport and targeting investment in a chance 即係橫跨嘅意思，橫跨成個歐洲嘅 network。And this integrated approach 呢個綜合嘅方法 integrated approach will allow the market shares of other modes to return to their 1998 levels and thus 所以 make a shift of the balance. It is far more ambitious 好有遠景啊 ambitious 一個形容詞，目標遠大 bearing in mind 間低 bear in mind 即係記得嘅意思。記住喎 the historical imbalance in favor of roads for the last 50 years but would achieve a marked break in the link between road transport growth and economic growth. Without preposition 後邊嘅 ing placing restrictions on the mobility of people and goods. Place 呢個 restrictions 即係限制啦 ，mobility 係移動 ，people and goods。任揀兩段圈動詞，跟住讀兩段俾我。加油